Ever since this game came out, I've put in roughly about 400 hours. Most of it is pure drifting. So today I figured I'd try to share what I've learned so far. Probably gonna be hard to put a lot of it into words, but we're gonna try. Before we get started though, we gotta talk about some wheel settings and car settings first. If you wanna go ahead and skip past that, say you don't need it or you already know or whatever, the timestamp is right there. But for me, I mean, as you can see, I got a G29 right here. And for the control, I got 5 feedback sensitivity and 2 on the max torque. Not a lot on either one, and 5 on the controller steering sensitivity. I'm not sure if that matters, but that's what I got on it. The closest I can mimic as to what it would feel like in real life as well. And I know a lot of people think the car setup is what matters the most, but no. That's why I'm trying to show y'all how to drift in this completely stock 350Z right here. Nothing done to it. No suspension, no power, no angle, no handbrake, nothing at all. And we're not doing comfort hards, but if it's your first time starting, then you should be on comfort hards. The slippier tire that gives you more room for error, which is the sports hards like the max you should stop at, and that's almost hardly no room for error on most parts. The highest I've ever gone is like sports mediums, but that was like 18, 14 horsepower. Crazy stupid power. And in my opinion, this is around the power you should be learning at. Nothing crazy, but nothing to where you got to be fighting the car just to even keep it sideways, you know. I think we're ready to move on to initiations now, and one of the simpler ones being just go in second gear, turn, just gas, and then catch it. And you're gonna need a little bit of power for this, obviously, and it's also can be hard to catch as opposed to if you were gonna do this a more predictable initiation, like throwing a flick in there with it, which is usually what I do. If I'm gonna gas into it, I usually do a flick with it, which is a Scandinavian flick, which I don't even need to explain that when you just flick your wheel. And of course the next one, clutch kick. Just keep going, gas, kick your clutch, let it go out and do its thing. And then everyone's go-to, just imagine there's a corner coming up here on this white line, yank it. And this one, depending on what kind of handbrake you got and how much torque you got on it, etc., it can really send you out like fast. So you got to be prepared for that. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I mean, look what I'm doing with my hand movements. The second I'm starting to initiate the drift, because I know most people first try to initiate their drift, they're just going to spin out immediately. You got to make sure you can't just initiate and then just keep your wheel straight like this. It's not going to work. You're just gonna, that's what's going to happen. You have to go with it. Let's say we're going to do a clutch kick, and then let it go, and then I kind of catch it at a certain point, and also give it assist too. Some games and in some cars, because this will vary from car to car and game to game, you won't have as much self-steer, which you don't get much in this game. I've come to realize that you don't get much self-steer at all in this game. Like obviously you see I get it enough to like help with that a little bit, but a lot of the times, let's say you got to do a fast transition, it's literally all you turning this wheel as fast as humanly possible. That's why hand placement is a majorly important thing, which isn't something that you should necessarily have to focus on right now if you can hardly even hold one, but it wouldn't hurt to, because the better placement you have with your hands, the faster you can turn this wheel. And honestly, with any game and any car, you're going to be doing transitions or 360s or something like that crazy, and the self-steer is just not going to help you no matter what, even if it's got good self-steer. But for the little bit that we do have, anticipate it, throw it out, try to catch it with the angle that you see on the car. I wouldn't really recommend third person, but I'm just doing it for y'all to see better. I mainly do hood cam, just keep going. Try to tell how far the car is going outwards and try to match it with your gas, synchronize it. Your throttle inputs are way more important than your steering inputs, way more important. Think of the throttle as your first input and the steering as your second, because that's exactly what it is. You gotta try your best to like kind of synchronize the wheel and the throttle at the exact same time. And honestly, I don't think just throwing an initiation like 15 miles an hour and just trying to hold like a straight random drift, I don't think that's the best way to go about it if you have like zero experience. I think you should probably start with donuts, of course, just try to understand your throttle. You know, more throttle means more angle, less throttle means less angle. Don't do the donuts where you're just doing this. You gotta do the donuts where you're doing some counter steering. Once you can hold a decent circle, try to do some figure eights as well with that. And that's where transitions come in too. And with transitions, they're probably gonna be a bit hard to explain, but I'm gonna try my best. So to do the transition, I'm gonna ease off of it a little bit, enough to transfer the weight of the body like this, ease off, and then back on to keep your transition going. I know I spun out there, but I think that might have made sense, I hope so. You're like, ease off, back on. And once you actually start to get sideways and stay that way, I mean, you can see there's a lot of little tweaks like this that you're gonna have to do, and just a lot of throttle modulation. Like you hardly ever are just like drifting like 6K RPMs flat. You're usually like doing tap and tap and tap and tap, you know what I'm saying? And just so y'all know, there's not like one thing that I can say that will just click in y'all's head and just make you instantly know how to drift, you know what I'm saying? It's just like any other hobby, skill, or habit. You just got to keep getting better and better at it. Just keep going at it as much as possible, and you're gonna get better. But if there's anything at all that I could say to help, it would be what I said earlier. You kind of just dance with the throttle and the gas. You kind of like try to synchronize it. It's hard to explain, man. But once you're able to get a couple of donuts and figure eights going, now, I mean, yeah, you can do a little bit of drifting, but we need to see how you can do it around a line. So now that you got the basics of all of it, just the process of being sideways, now we're going to throw you on a harder track to try to actually challenge you. Because you could just do those donuts and figure eights all day, and you're not really going to learn much. But this map right here, in my opinion, is the best map for learning drifting overall, advanced and beginner. And I think this low area right here is very good for learning drifting. Quick transitions, all sorts of stuff. And you don't really need much power. I mean, I might be struggling a little bit, but that's because this is a stock one. Nothing really done to it to help the drifting. But you can easily do this like 400 horsepower. Because I'm not even kidding you, I cannot count how many times I've hit this track. I've hit this track thousands of times. I'm not joking you. But I built this car up a little bit. It's got like, I think it's a Mazda RX-7 in it, so it's like 499 horsepower. And obviously pretty light. And now I'm just going to apply everything I've been telling y'all. Flick, gas. I mean, I kind of threw the wheel on that one. See, like I said, the self-steer only helps you so much. You do a lot of throwing the wheel. You got to know where the wheel is at and what you want to do with your hands. And knowing where the wheel is at all times is very, very, very important. Because, I mean, you don't want to be countersteering and you think you have a lot more angle, and then out of nowhere, you just, like, bang it on this really hard, which I've done many, many, many times. All right, I'm about to do a little big center here. Fourth gear, the gas. I mean, you can hear my exhaust. I'm kind of flipping the throttle. Honestly, way too many corrections on the wheel, but I'm just kind of adjusting with the wheel. Yeah, let up off the gas for a second. Let up. Get back on. Let up. Back on. Kind of messing it up, but it's hard to like actively explain while drifting. And of course, it's not going to be on some transitions because sometimes your momentum can already kind of send you that way without having to ease off the gas. But most of the time, you ease off and then get back on when you're where you want to be. I mean, I might manji this whole thing without even letting up off the throttle. Sometimes you like turn into it. You see how I turned in the transition right there? Turn into it again. Haven't let up off the gas at all. I mean, you can't throw the wheel every time. Sometimes you got to walk the wheel yourself, which is why you see me have to do that. But right here, I'm going to have to walk it. See, I had to hold on to it a little bit right there. I had to do it fast. And you also want to make sure you don't rely on one hand too much. Because, I mean, when I'm shifting with this hand, it makes me rely on this left hand way, way too much. And sometimes I'll just, like, do all the countersteering with this one, which it's a good skill to have, but you don't want to do that all the time when you have this hand open. It's better to have two hands going at the same time. I don't even know if I've talked about left foot braking. That one's very, very important because, I mean, I know a lot of people, real life and on the game, they like to spam handbrake, man. You do not need handbrake as much as they spam it. You can use a lot of left foot braking or just braking in general. Hell, I mean, look right here. I'm not even going to touch. That was all brakes, and of course, on the example, I kind of spin out, but I hardly ever touch a handbrake. And your brake bias will help you with that tremendously because if your brake bias is messed up and you try to brake while drifting, you're just going to get straightened up no matter what. So you got to make sure that's on point. So right here, I'm about to do no handbrake, all gas. Hardly even got on the clutch, honestly. But now, man, I think y'all just need to hit the track over and over and over and just get better, refine yourselves. Thank you guys so much for watching, though. I really hope I helped y'all learn something. God bless you. Jesus loves you. And have a very good day.